Um, Playfulness. Humor is playful, and we can be playful as therapists. I mean, I think a lot of therapists think they just got to be dead serious in every moment because it's so intense and so profound, and that's a real prescription for burnout. And of course, if you're a psychoanalytic type, you can't call it play. It's regression in the service of the ego, right? Paradoxical intention. Somebody was talking this morning about their client being like this ultimate pessimist, and and one way is if you're trying to make something funny is to exaggerate it, and so he turned her into this superhero, and she was like, negativity woman. And what will negativity woman say today? Well, we can find the dark cloud around every silver lining, right? And doing that kind of stuff. So you can say, hey, what would negativity woman say about this? And you're really kind of prescribing the symptom there, paradoxical intention. But it's in a playful way, and it's actually can take her into a more positive side of things. Corrective emotional experience, modeling, taking the power out of narcissistic fantasy. I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm really interested in narcissism. Can you guess why? And so I have this, I know this person quite well. I won't tell you who it is, my brother, but he was in, he's a musician and really fairly narcissistic. And he was coming down to visit me and my partner. And his then girlfriend, now wife, came with him, and we were going to go and play an open mic night together at one of the local bars. So he comes down, and we sit down and we chat a while, and it's his turn to get up and play. And he gets up and sits on the stage and gets ready to play. And what is she supposed to be doing while he's playing? Watching, paying attention, huh? Admiring, right? Clearing. She's supposed to be his narcissistic extension. But she was a bad, bad girlfriend this day. She was chatting, and she was chatting with us. We hadn't seen her in a while. We liked her, right? So he comes off the stage. What's she supposed to do then? Right, she's supposed to gush and admire him, but she continued to chat with us. Once again, bad girlfriend. Right? So she chats, and he's kind of, it's time. Would you follow my script, would you? So finally, he has to ask for it, right? So because he gets so desperate, and finally he says to her, what'd you think? And she said, about what? he said, about the music. And she said, oh. Sorry, I wasn't listening. And because he had grown up a little bit, he said, I'm ready to pout now. I'm going to be pouting for a while, and I'll just be with you in a few minutes, right? If he had been younger, because what happened there, if you know anything about narcissism, was a narcissistic injury, right? And narcissistic injury, when he was younger, would have led to narcissistic rage, and narcissists are experts at pouting. Really good at it. Well, one of the things that he recognized that he had this tendency to pout when things didn't go his way, when somebody wasn't holding up the mirror to him. And he kind of went with that tendency. He understood it. He had a sense of humor about it and a sense of perspective about it. And I viewed that as being very much of a healthy move for him to acknowledge that I know that I'm pretty good at pouting. And one of the things that narcissists take themselves very, very, very seriously, way too seriously. And they have these fantasies of unlimited success and power and brilliance, and these are fantasies that are pretty much destined to be dashed. That even if you are wealthy, if you are attractive, if you are talented, it's not hard to get. On the other hand, if you're but enough about you. You've silenced me. In fact, if you're wealthy, attractive, and talented like Aaron Rocklin, You don't have trouble finding narcissistic extensions, people to hold the mirror up to you. But if you've ever been, I mean, I'm sure many of you have been in relationships with people who are highly narcissistic, and your arms, metaphorically, get pretty damn tired holding up the mirror because you get tired and you have your own needs, et cetera, and these empathic failures are inevitable, no matter how much you love and admire the kind of person. And the unsuccessful narcissist will just replace their extensions, Larry King. So what happens then is that, so if we can take out these fantasies, talk about them, exaggerate them, and have a laugh about them, it really, really takes their power away. And as I said, all you do is exaggerate them. Here's an example. His blood smells like cologne. His legend precedes him the way that lightning precedes thunder. He once had an awkward moment just to see how it feels. He lived, this is my favorite line, he lives vicariously through himself. He is the most interesting man in the world, right? Now, if I were writing this script, I would change the next line. Here's how I would change it. I don't always drink beer. Excuse me. I look at her. She has an orgasm. I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis, right? Now, just by the way, what you are supposed to, and this has to do a little bit with humor and it has a little bit to do with helping men understand the marketplace. What is supposed to happen in your psyche when you watch the most interesting man in the world is, here's my reaction. I suck. I have awkward moments all the time. And really that's what beer commercials are about. They are used. What advertisers are really experts at is telling you that you're inadequate in some sort of way and then offering the product to make you whole again, right? And if you watch beer commercials with a critical eye and you help your clients watch beer commercials with a critical eye, you find out, first of all, beer is very sexy in beer commercials, right? How many? Let me ask the heterosexual women in the room, and you know who you are. You ever look at a guy that has had 12 beers, like, oh, I love the vomit down the front of his shirt, right? Beer is very sexy. It's associated with sexual access. It's a substitute for men's friendships with each other. It is associated with sports and outdoor activities, even though if you were drinking beer while you were doing those things, it'd be quite dangerous. Nobody ever pays for a beer, there's never any smoke in the bar, and nobody ever gets drunk. Now, they are not selling beer. They are selling masculinity, and they're selling a certain kind of version of it. And that's how Bud Light became the best-selling beer in America. 1 out of every 5 beers sold in the United States is a Bud Light. Now, if you really like Bud Light, just close your ears for a second. I think that Bud Light is a fine beer. If you happen to be in prison and you don't have any access to beer that tastes like anything, right? So we can sell this stuff that's basically right next to water by telling somebody that it's associated with really very narcissistic, masculine kind of viewpoints, and do not even get me started on Axe body spray. Now, you know who's buying this stuff? What age? What age?
20.
20, really. But most of the people who are buying Axe body spray are 13 and 14-year-old boys. Oh, tell him that. Yeah. 13 and 14-year-old boys. You think there are a lot of 13 and 14-year-old boys who aren't sure about their sexual attractiveness, right? And even though the ad is way over the top, it bleeds into your psyche in some sort of way. Now, this is a mantra that I've been doing a lecture in a lot of places called Guy-Fi, The Fictions That Rule Men's Lives. And the mantra I've been using lately, it is very, very difficult to resist a pressure that you cannot name. And there's tremendous amounts of pressure out in the world, and we have, as educators, certainly have not been doing a very good job of helping men to name it. And then we put them into position, once you can name it, to resist the pressure when it conflicts with an important life goal or it hurts another person. And I'll just tell you a little story about this. I have a friend who's my age, 32, and